have come to your attention in previous What Culture videos that I'm rather a big fan of one Scott Steiner. He broke into the business back in 1986 after a successful amateur wrestling career. He and his brother basically owned the 90s, and since then, he's never been far from a wrestling conversation due to his exploits in the business, or because he says stuff like this in interviews.
Now it's worse because, got one of the biggest cunts running it, like Stephanie McMahon. What the f*** you know about wrestling, Just because, and then Triple H, you kidding me?
But anyway, we are here to discuss the insane truth behind Scott Steiner, and that is as a result of the insane amount of urban legends that come with him. So today, let's look into the top 10 Scott Steiner urban legends, and using our Scott Steiner math system, let's work out whether or not some of these are true or false. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and this is the insane truth behind Scott Steiner. Number 10. WWE paid him to sit at home in 2004. Let's be honest, Scott Steiner's WWE run was a huge letdown. Yes, he got a massive pop when he debuted at 2002 Survivor Series and cut promos that were superstar worthy, but everything after that was downhill fast. Look, he wasn't at his peak physically, and he certainly wasn't at WWE's main event standard. They dropped him down the card rapidly. He teamed with, then feuded with, then teamed again with Test, alongside some problematic storyline about Stacy Keibler's managerial services. And then in the 2004 Royal Rumble, he was eliminated early by Booker T, got injured, and then was released in August of that year. So is it true? Did they just pay him to sit at home? Yeah, I mean, he was struggling physically, but he still could have done stuff for them, but they just decided, nah, you don't need to bother there, Scott. They obviously clearly felt that he wasn't the performer that they'd bought, and I suppose they didn't really want to tell him that he was going to be jobbing out to mid-carders. Yeah, that kind of makes sense too. I wouldn't want to be the one to have to tell the big bad booty daddy that either. Number 9. He had major heat with Triple H. I mean, did you miss the clip I played earlier of him talking about Stephanie McMahon? Look, that aside, Scott Steiner has a variety of problems with Triple H. He doesn't believe he'd be in the position he is today without being in a relationship with Stephanie McMahon. He's pissed off with Triple H for bringing in loads of WCW stars like Goldberg and Kevin Nash. This was before the whole Sting WrestleMania 31 fiasco, bringing those stars in just so Triple H could then beat them. And then there's their feud from early 2003 in which, Triple H beat Scott Steiner in 2 long crap matches comprehensively. Look, I'll admit, both guys were injured in those matches, which is probably why it was a bad idea for Triple H to try and pretend to be the new Ric Flair and make both of those encounters go like 20-odd minutes. Is it true? What do you bloody think? Number 8. He hates Ric Flair. I really don't think we need to do an Is It True segment for this one. Yes, Scott Steiner absolutely hates Ric Flair. They may have worked together in WWE and TNA, but trust me, they do not like each other. Now, there are arguments as to where this stemmed from. Some people claim that apparently Ric Flair vetoed Steiner's brother, Rick Steiner, beating him for the World Heavyweight title in the early 90s, and that's where all this stems from. But after that, it has just been a tirade of abuse from Scott Steiner at Ric Flair. He's trashed him in interviews. There's the infamous 7th of February 2000 episode of Nitro in which he calls Flair a jealous old bastard, said it's his fault that Steve Austin got fired, and then ends that promo by saying WCW sucks. There is the fact that he claimed he was only in WWE in the early 90s to carry Triple H's bags, and my favourite bit of all this, that promo he cut on Nitro, he got suspended for that, but he didn't know about it until he turned up to the next night's Thunder, and when he was informed of that, he threatened to beat up Ric Flair in the parking lot. Yeah, these two don't like each other. Number 7, he spent time in jail. Now, whilst this one is true, it's not as much as you might think. Don't get me wrong, Scott Steiner has been arrested on multiple occasions, but he's only actually spent 10 days in jail, which was in March of 1999, when he pled guilty to aggravated assault and making terroristic threats. He spent 10 days in jail, which is kind of getting off lightly considering the maximum sentence for that is 30 years. All right, yeah, he had to pay a fine and do like community service, and there was like a probation order and what have you. But still, only 10 days in jail considering what Freakzilla's got up to. Not bad. Number 6, he almost died after a match. This story is incredible. So Scott Steiner was working a TNA house show in Puerto Rico in 2007 when his opponent Apollo accidentally kicked him in the throat and tore his trachea. Scott Steiner was 5 hours away from certain death. He had to eventually be put in an induced coma, and it took 2 weeks to drain the fluid from Freakzilla's lungs. And what makes this all the more amazing is that whilst the Puerto Rican doctors and nurses were trying to save Scott Steiner's life, he was busy trying to shoo them off and get his buddy to come and pick him up in his private jet. Never change, Scott. Number 5, he's a physical wreck. Sadly, yeah. I mean, he is a veteran of this industry. Look at the style that he worked as well with his brother Rick in the 90s. That is going to take it out of almost anyone. He was a collegiate amateur wrestler before he got into all this sort of thing as well. Yes, he does still wrestle sporadically. In fact, he wrestled one of my friends, Hornswoggle, over WrestleMania 35 weekend. But sadly, he is a shadow of his former super worker self. But let's not forget, he is 58 years old. I wouldn't mind looking like that at 58, you know. Number 4, he took liberties with smaller opponents in the ring. As I mentioned earlier, the Steiner brothers came from a legit amateur wrestling background, which meant if they wanted you to do something or go somewhere in the ring, whether you liked it or not, it was probably going to happen. Look, the general consensus with this one is that it was more Rick than Scott, although I have no doubt that Scott in his time has stretched opponents, suplexed them when they didn't want to be suplexed, put certain people in their place, and maybe worked a little bit stiff. Still though, I mean, I'm not telling him. Number 3, his physique is the result of anabolic steroid use. Right, let's get the admin out of the way first and foremost. Scott Steiner has never failed a drugs test and has always denied the use of performance enhancers. Yes, does this physique look natural? Absolutely not. But then again, Scott Steiner is a self-confessed genetic freak. He's got his own workout video, which I heartily suggest you check out, by the way. Look, everyone accused Scott Steiner of taking steroids in the late 90s due to his massive amount of muscle gain. WCW fans accused him of it. He responded aggressively. They accused him of roid rage. But my favourite Steiner response to all of this is when WWE asked him to take a drugs test before he signed for them in 2002. And Scott said, absolutely, no problem whatsoever. All I need is Triple H to pick me up in a limo and come and take the test with me. WWE stopped asking after that. Funny. Number 2, he tried to remove DDP's eye during a backstage fight. Right, so the backstage story to this one is Scott Steiner was pissed off because DDP's wife and manager, Kimberly, tried to get Sonny fired after finding drug paraphernalia backstage. He apparently chased Kimberly around the arena and then at the next Nitro taping cut a shoot promo on DDP, who felt he had to stand up to Scott Steiner. He waited for him behind the curtain and the two got into it. And whilst most reports do differ on who got the upper hand in the fight, everyone generally agrees Scott Steiner tried to remove Diamond Dallas Page's eye. I feel like we've had enough eye stuff on this channel for 1 year. Shall we move on? Number 1, he wants to kill Hulk Hogan and was banned from the Hall of Fame ceremony. Following WrestleMania 31, pictures began to circulate of backstage at the 2015 Hall of Fame. In particular, this image showing Scott Steiner's image, apparently that was given to security. He was told he was not to be allowed to enter the 2015 Hall of Fame ceremony after he confronted Hulk Hogan's wife, Jennifer, at San Jose Airport, told her he was going to kill her husband and put his hands on her. Now, Steiner obviously refuted these claims. He said he never laid a finger on her and simply told her that he thought it was inappropriate that Hulk Hogan was inducting Randy Savage because, well, Savage hated Hogan. I think when it comes to whether or not this one is true, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Does that sound like something Scott Steiner would say about Hulk Hogan? Absolutely. Has Hulk Hogan been known to stretch the truth in the past? Definitely. You can make your own mind up on this one. Legally, I'm just going to leave it there. So there you have it, that is the insane truth behind Scott Steiner, ironically, which featured some insane truths about Scott Steiner. Did we miss any urban legends out? Do let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.